My name's Neeko Abriol. I'm from Salon Sessions in Pasadena, California. I'm actually, what they would be the creative director. I'm responsible for, what it looks like, how the level of excellence that we perform, the culture. I'm very, I'm not a hard ass, but I'm very meticulous about how that looks, customer service, all that stuff. Got into the business, like when I was younger, I was very rambunctious, My parents used to say, don't take too many risks, get a good education, and you'll be all right.
All right.
And so I fought against it, became very rebellious. I was always a kid in the back getting his name put on the board, And what happened was, it wasn't because I wasn't interested in work. It's just I was driven by my hands, And I was always like building motorcycles or messing with bikes and, like welding and doing all this craftsman stuff. But, like all that stuff was, at the time when I was growing up, wasn't really prestigious or something to brag about. So, for some reason, like I started rebelling, got into gangs, eventually got into trouble, caught a case, started doing about a bunch of nonprofit stuff, got into a youth program at church, and my youth counselor happened to be a barber. He brings me to the salon, takes me under his wing. He's like, oh man, you need to be a barber. I'm like, okay, works with my hands, girls everywhere, guys trying to get the perfected thing, so I gave it a try, loved it, so 3 years later, fighting my case, I finally decided, after all these hairdressers started throwing sponsorships at me, I got into beauty school, and the day before I started beauty school, I went into the salon and gave a testimonial to a hairdresser. Come to find out she was my DA's wife. And I was getting sentenced that Thursday, even though I started beauty school Monday. She was like, oh man, you just gave me all the evidence I need to put you away to tell my husband, he happened to be with the DA. So I didn't think anything of it, I already knew there was something tangible about what I already had. Went to beauty school, come Thursday, totally forgot about the case. Mom's called me, hey, you're supposed to be in court today. I was like, oh my God. I went to court with my beauty smock on, put a tie on it, and a jacket over it, and ended up going to court like that, Well, the DA that got that information actually said he brought all this new evidence. It happened to be my beauty school teachers' character references. The church I was at, all the youth camps I was speaking at, the barbers and all these hairdressers. So he ended up, instead of like trying to get me this big sentence of like 5+ years, he gave me 3 years probation. And at that moment I was like, oh, thank you God. I don't know I would have handled jail, but you know what? I'm gonna be the best hairdresser I can possibly be. And that's when I came out on fire. I've been known for my makeovers. I started in the business, like with a Polaroid camera. Came out of beauty school. I shot all my work from January to December, and at the end of the year, I would line up all the pictures and see how I would evolve. I wanted to document it, So, that kind of began the foundation of my career. I started doing all these amazing makeovers, and photographers and other makeup artists and all these people started seeing that, by documenting it, I definitely took this three-dimensional thing and was able to express it on camera, So, I got into the editorial world, I got an agent, I started building these relationships with all these, record labels. So any new artists came my way, came on the scene, I would have to put the stamp on it and actually attempt to, create a look for the demographic that this record label wanted to put out. So, I've had girls like Pink, my main client was like Tyra Banks and Halle Berry, done a lot of work with like Mary J. Blige and Macy Gray, Missy Elliott, all those different looks she did for like 5 years. I was, you know, in command, so to speak. You know, I was one of the makeover guys for America's Top Model for like 6 seasons, you know. So I mean, that makeover thing was my thing, you know. And you know, so outside of the salon, it's always been the first look, the brand new video, the launch, you know. So I've always had the privilege to be able to be like first on that front line, you know. I'm always throwing myself in a situation where I have to start all over and learn. So I'm always humbled by that, you know, and I think my recreation totally keeps me, you know, keeps me young, keeps that first deposit into my life as, okay, I've conquered my first advance and deposit, and now I can go back into work. Done it with hair, I've done it with everything I've ever touched, building Harleys and, you know, off-road Jeeps, like the whole process of being very technical and then application. That's what really inspires me, is like, you know, throwing myself back into that grind. Social media is amazing, you know. It's amazing that, you know, like, you know, I used to steal Polaroids. Now you do have to shoot them and then post them, and the whole world sees them. You know, I have old school Polaroid books that people look at and was like, oh man, these are so nostalgic. I was like, this was like yesterday for me, you know what I mean? But like now, you can become a superstar. But you know, I think it's amazing marketing for the individual, because everybody is so into getting the shot. Bad thing about it is, you know, for business, again, creates, you know, just a lot of momentum and continual momentum. Bad thing about it is that sometimes we're here at the show, you got Garen, you got Tom, you got, you know, Howard on stage, and they're right in your face. And there's something about like a live concert where the energy is going, the music is flying, you feel it because everybody's in the moment. But then nowadays you see them putting up their screen, and instead of experiencing the human exchange, they're looking at it through a lens. And it's like, you know, like posting bigger than you are in person. That's where it becomes very, very scary, you know, because again, you get so obsessed with yourself in the shot that you're not ever in the picture. Does that make sense? So I mean, you know, like it's a great obsession if you're using it as a tool, not as the trick, you know. So I think it's definitely detrimental on how we're balancing on that beam, yeah. Mentors and role models are so important, you know. Again, you know there's a really fine line though, you know, because, you know, I was always taught fake it till you make it. All right, so that necessarily isn't the case. You know, what mentors do for you is it kind of checks and balance you. They inspire you. You know, I was always taught there's got to be 3 people in your life. There's got to be the person looking up to you because it keeps you in check. There's the person you're going through it with, the fellow that's in the same ship, the fellowship. And then there's a guy you look up to that you're headed towards. Those 3 people kind of mind and checks and balance you. And I think, you know, that mentor thing is very important because, you know, you can ask them, hey, what did you do? But you got to translate it into your language and apply it in your world. Because what they did is just to inspire you. It's not to tell you what to do. That's the whole thing about this social media and this scrolling, is because a lot of these kids, they imitate it because they see it. So imagine when a mentor comes. Are they actually going to innovate? Or now they're just going to imitate? So again, you know, it's detrimental to actually apply it after you've been inspired by it.